Happy Friday, guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Dubs. I'm your host, Bill T. Well, it's Friday and another podcast for you. All you guys out there in classic Volkswagen land, we've got a great podcast coming for you today. And one of the wonderful things about this podcast is some of the history in my local city and some of that stuff where it comes from. So I definitely appreciate that. Before we get into this podcast, don't forget to support those that support Let's Talk Dubs. Ross Wolf, high quality aftermarket parts for enthusiasts, by enthusiasts, as well as lots of new developing products all the time. Currently, they've got their Viton gasket sets that you can pick up. Go to their website today at rosswolf.com and get your car to stop leaking, get your solid billet shift mount, get your shift together. There's all kinds of stuff. Stainless steel, bus, deck lid hinges, whatever you need, go check out Ross Wolf today. They've got on their website at rosswolf.com. Also, VW Trends Magazine. Back after a long hiatus, VW Trends Magazine back on the scene, 4 issues a year. Get some of the most different stuff that you have out there. It's definitely not the other magazines that are out there. So go subscribe today at vwtrendsmagazine.com. Icon pistons. You guys want top quality, high performance pistons. There's only one piston to go with, and that's Icon pistons. Currently, they're made in 85.5, 92s, and 94s, 3 different pin heights. Go check them out. Where are you going to buy Icon pistons at? Well, I'm going to tell you that in just a minute, but first let me pump up the pistons a little bit. These are made from 4032 alloy, which allows you to run tighter piston-to-wall clearances so you can get down, keep that compression, and make that motor put out maximum power. They've got 2 1.5 millimeter top rings and then a 4 millimeter bottom ring, which makes getting new rings for these things a lot easier. And also each piston gets M42 skirt coating to protect against dry startups, as well as give an extra layer of protection. The skirt profile is optimized for stability and performance in boxer engines. And how would these guys know? Because these guys make millions of pistons every year. And now the Big Boy Piston Company put out a line because there's a VW dude that snuck in through the back door and said, hey, boss, let's make some Volkswagen pistons. So the highest performance pistons that you can get right now, Icon pistons. Go get them checked out today. Where can you buy these Icon pistons? Type E Motorsports, CB Performance, RevMaster, the Dub Shop, and Churco Performance. So go check it out today. You want the best pistons? Make sure you only get Icon pistons. Today's podcast. A lot of times in the 70s, throughout the history of Volkswagens, you've always seen these boutique designed specific things that were made to make the VW enthusiast life a little bit easier. And back in the day when oil used to come in cans and you had a can opener that you used to put oil in your car, there's a few guys from Las Vegas that developed a product called ATI, About Time Inc., and it's the oil filler adapter. Matter of fact, it was in Hot VW's magazine, one of the issues that I found a while back. July 1980, there's an advertisement for it, and here's what it says. It says, stop that spill. Oil filler extension, just twist on, no tools required, fits type 1 through 74, type 2 through 71. About Time Inc. And it's got a Las Vegas number. And often I've looked at this magazine and thought, I got to call that 702 number and find out who it is. And last week, my buddy Jaime Artigas of the Artigas twins, brother of Daniel Artigas, transmission builder, sent me a message last week because there was someone selling these oil filler neck adapters. And if you've seen them, they're cast aluminum and they kind of twist on and it changes the degree of the oil fill inlet, and then it uses the stock cap to cap it back off. And it just made it for when, before they came out with the plastic oil jug in 1981, you have that oil filler with the banana shaped opener that you plugged in there to pump oil in your car, and it would make a mess. And so these guys developed something. It's a really cool story about some guys that did something. It's a local story, so I'm stoked to bring it to you. And Jaime had sent me the ad that the guy who originally developed the product, one of the guys, said, I'm the guy that originally had this About Time Inc. Oil fill adapter. So reached out to me. We shot some emails back and forth. He came out to the house one of these days, and we got to sit down with my buddy, my new friend, Kent Wallace. And so this podcast is about the story of the About Time Inc. adapter, and it also evolves into some of the off-road racing scene in Las Vegas back in the early days. So it's a great podcast, a good listen, and it's definitely a validation of the VW enthusiasts that get so tired of looking for something nobody's making that they just make it themselves. So this week on Let's Talk Dubs, About Time Inc., Kent Wallace on Let's Talk Dubs.
You probably don't know that there's a new Volkswagen out that doesn't look like a Volkswagen.
Okay, Ray. So on today's podcast, as we're constantly looking for, we're not even looking; it just finds us, right? New information about history and people and things that have been involved in the VW scene. And you guys may remember that you'll see every now and again you'll see for sale in the Samba. There was an oil filter 90-degree adapter, actually probably about a 45-degree adapter that turned your oil fill tube into a vertical inlet for back in the day when they had oil cans with the punctures. And I received a phone call or a message on Facebook the other day from a friend of mine who said, "Hey, this guy's the guy that invented it," and that's my buddy Jaime. And so right away I reached out to Kent, and Kent was the guy that was one of the original guys that put this together, which was it was a company at the time called About Time Inc. And so we've got some history about that adapter. That's, you guys, especially from Las Vegas, you've seen the adapter a bunch. But on today's podcast, I've got Kent Wallace, and he was originally with About Time Inc. and today's with
Living Water Solutions.
Living
Inc.
Water
That's
Solutions Inc. And so, Kent, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, good to be here.
So it's interesting. I saw the ad that you had for the original oil filter adapter.
Filler, it's a filler neck.
It's a filler
extension,
neck.
Oil filler extension is what it was.
And you guys made that originally because I was messing with
some Weber carburetors on a friend of mine's car, and I just quit the Beetle Barn. It's a long time ago.
Well, let's do this. Let's do this the right way, right?
Okay.
We're going to do this the right way. So the way we always start the podcast is, what's your VW story and how did you get into Volkswagens?
Oh, well, I was bored to death going to college as a physics engineering dropout, not because I wasn't making good grades. I was just bored to death. And I got teased with some Volkswagen circle track racing and stuff. And I just said, I'm just going to go make some money and go play and try to make a life. So I drove down to the Beetle Barn. Mm-hmm. Actually, I drove down to the Beetle Barn, talked to Warren Stevens, because I had a Baja Bug.
Yeah.
I had a bug. And I walked in and convinced Warren to hire me.
And what year is this?
God, it would have been 1976. Something like that, maybe. So,
and they were down there off of
they were off of
at
28th Street in Charleston.
Oh, really? Is that where they were?
They were at 28th and Charleston, right down there past 5 Points.
Okay.
And he hired me. And I knew about my Volkswagen, and there was a really cool guy named Lee Waggy, who was an old biker mechanic who lived right across the street from me. And he had a lathe, he had a brake lathe, he had all kinds of stuff, and he taught me how to do all kinds of things, starting when I was like 14. Really? So I told my girlfriend, she had a little Datsun truck, and I said, "You need to take me down to Sears and Roebuck, because that's the only place you could really buy a toolbox back then."
So back up one second. So when you go see Warren, how's your interview go with Warren?
Good. He hired me because
I
lied. I lied, told him I knew everything there was to know about Volkswagens.
Yeah.
And
so you kind of stretch the truth a little bit, and you're like, "Hey, look, that's my Baja out there. I've done all the work on it. I'm ready to get to work."
Yeah.
So you go to Sears and Roebuck then and go to
bought a Craftsman toolbox. Mm-hmm. Went over to Charleston Auto Parts and got a impact driver, and I had a bunch of hand tools and stuff, and just showed up as a line mechanic.
And how was it working at Beetle Barn?
It was good. Warren,
how busy were they?
They were busy.
Yeah.
They were busy a lot. I mean, there was a line of cars out there every morning, and I loved learning how to do things. So I can remember that I saw a funny story. I saw the cotter pin on the back of a Volkswagen axle. Mm-hmm. Originally that I've never messed with, where you put it in sideways, you bend the tangs around each side, and then you smash the head back. You don't put it in and then fold it over the front of the axle, right? Warren saw me do that, and he was so impressed.
Really?
I mean, it was like one of those weird little things. Because it just like reinforces in his mind I knew something, and all I did was saw the way the Germans did it and did it that way,
Right. So what? You have any cool experiences you had with Warren that you can remember? I mean, Warren's passed away a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And what brings us full circle, right? Is as you pulled up to my house here, you saw the Beetle Barn bus outside, and when you saw that, you were just kind of like, jogged a bunch of memories, huh?
Yeah. I ran over myself with a car.
At Beetle Barn?
Yeah, sure. Hard to do to run over yourself with a car. We were working on somebody's Baja Bug, and they didn't want to repair the ignition wires. They were hanging down. Mm-hmm. I was doing something to the brakes or whatever, so I drove it around the side and always put them in reverse. As I got out of the car, my leg brushed the wires, and they were swinging, and it hit the starter just as I walked around the back of the Baja Bug, and it had big open tires.
Right.
And it rolled up onto my foot. So all I could do was lay down, let it run over me, get back up, jump in there, pull the wires apart where it crashed into something else.
Wow. And you know, it's interesting. So what you mean to tell me is even back then, the VW people were amazingly cheap and not wanting to put money in their cars.
Absolutely. All
right. Well, you know, they were being thrifty. Didn't want to repair the ignition, but needed his brakes done.
Yeah.
So how long did you work at Beetle Barn for?
About 2 years, I think. Two and a half years. Yeah.
So you worked there from 76 to like 78, roughly?
Yeah. I became his heavy-duty mechanic doing engines.
Why'd you end up leaving?
Just
time to move on.
Bored, ready to move on, yeah.
And what'd you go do after that?
You know, God, I went and got a job with Toyota.
Really?
At Fletcher Jones Toyota over there on Sahara as a mechanic. Yeah.
Wow.
Because back then the shop rate was $14 an hour, and as a mechanic you got 50%.
Wow. So, $7 an hour.
That was $13,000 a year. That was a bunch of money.
I mean,
back
minimum
then.
wage back in '78 was about $2 $2.50 an hour, something like that.
Yeah. So I went to work at Toyota, and I worked there for a year or so, and then they started changing the pay scale and rearranging everything, and now mechanics don't make anywhere near 50%, but the shop rate's also,
right,
way up there. And but I was still doing Weber carburetors and stuff on the side. Mm-hmm. So I got a call one day from Richard Dashley over at the Porsche shop, who was like 2 doors down from the Beetle Bar.
Really?
Yeah. And he had an independent Porsche repair shop, because there were only 2 in town. There's Porsche House, and there was the Porsche shop. And he said, hey, I've got a 914 over here that I need to get past smog, and it's got a pair of Webers on it. And can you help me out? And I said, sure.
So what was the trick to getting a dual carb 914 to pass?
I'm 70. I was 19.
Yeah. Well,
I went over and just fiddled with it, and all the things were analog back then. It wasn't like now. You had gauges you read, and it was just the honor system that you were going to write down.
Really? So you could kind of...
And I wasn't even authorized. Richard had to come out and do all that. I was just there to make the carburetors pass smog.
Really?
And it took me a little while, and I did it, and then he offered me a job.
At the
Porsche shop.
The Porsche shop. Where was that at?
That was on 28th Street, 2 doors up from Beetle Barn. Yeah.
So 28th Street in Charleston?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's still a little industrial area right down there.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So from there, I, just worked for him for a couple of years as his heavy-duty mechanic. Mm-hmm. Funny, because I never looked at a Porsche engine, but people would come up and say, you're never going to rebuild a Porsche engine in Las Vegas. Nobody would ever let anybody here do that. They take them to L.A. I think I built 5 911 engines, worked on a really cool 356 boxed, or the ones with the twin overhead cams. I did all kinds of really interesting things there, and I loved that place.
Yeah.
But then I got into off-road racing, and
so how'd you get in off-road racing?
Because Russell Jobe was straight down the street in a yard, just like 100 yards from the Porsche shop at the Beetle Barn, and he had a Class 2.
Really?
Yeah. And so I was down there monkeying around, and he said, well, I'll give you a space if you want to move in over here and have your own little shop.
So you ended up starting your own little shop?
Kind of, yeah.
Did it have a name or anything?
No, it wasn't official.
It was just you tuning people's cars and stuff like that?
doing stuff, and I kept his race car going.
Nice.
So that was the way I paid for my space.
Yeah.
It was kept his race car going.
And you were off-road racing? You had a car yourself?
No, God, no. No, I've never had an off-road race.
Oh, so you were just...
I've been in a lot of them.
You were just driving for free, not having to pay for them. You had all the fun with none of the commitment.
Yeah.
I like it.
And I was building his engines and transmissions. And and that was cool. That was cool.
So you were building transmissions at the time too, huh?
Yeah.
Engines, transmissions,
Yeah,
all that
I
stuff.
just
So
kind of taught myself how to do it.
working with like the SPG roller bearing cranks and all that kind of stuff
I
back
built
in the
a
day.
couple of motors with those.
Yeah, interesting.
They
And
use the twist, so people that have to have them pinned.
right. Who was doing machining back then?
Oh, Universal Machine down down off of Oki and right back in there by Oki and Highland area. There's a little industrial area back there.
I know that.
They're not there now.
Well, we talked about Jim Barbeau with Desert Racing
Right.
Performance, and
Yeah.
and I remember he used to get some work done at a place called Jack's Machine, and he had actually a VW powered forklift, is what
Oh, okay.
Jim told me, and I've
Yeah.
never traced. I never tracked it down to see if I could find it
That
and
would
get
be
it, but
cool
that
to
would be
see.
super cool to get a VW powered forklift.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so how do you come up with the design? Tell me the story about. So what's the name of it? What was the name of the product? 'Cause
It was an oil filler extension.
so oil fill extension. I have an issue of Hot VW's July 1980, and I found the ad here, and it said "Stop that spill, oil filler extension,
Right.
just twist on, no tools required, fits Type 1 through 74, Type 2 through 71, and About Time Inc." was the name of the company. And what's interesting is, so did Patrick used to be called Sir Patrick, the street Patrick?
Yes. Well, Sir
Before
Patrick, yes.
before it was Patrick, it was Sir Patrick. That's interesting too.
Yeah.
So that's back in the day. And so
Yeah.
you had so tell me about the story of how you guys designed and developed.
I
this.
was working on Dave's Webers. He had a little street bug with the Gene Berg motor in it, 42 DCNFs, and
Dave's
Dave
last
Patten.
name is
Patten. Yeah.
Patton.
Ian.
Ian.
Ian, because
Okay.
he was the cousin of a close friend of mine, Brian Patten. And so Dave was a funny guy. He worked for the phone company. He was very meticulous, but he had the patience of Job right until something didn't, right till he was done, and then he would just like flip out. And he did that one day when we were pouring oil in a Volkswagen. He just couldn't stand it anymore. Just went crazy. And he says, "We need to fix this. We need to figure out something." So I made up a little handmade one and messed with it for a little while. And the angle is exactly 52 degrees.
Right.
And so he and I decided we were going to try to make these. So we did a little research. We didn't have any money. We each went and pulled $5,000 from a bank loan.
That's $10,000.
Yeah, that's what it cost. We formed a corporation.
That's what it costs to just set up a company and do all that stuff,
that was everything. That was getting a couple of thousand of them made right out the door.
So you got to find the casting shop and all the stuff.
And the interesting thing is that everything was made here, and one of the reasons is because back then. People today probably don't even know it or remember, but it was illegal to manufacture gaming equipment outside of the state of Nevada because every other state gaming was illegal. So it was against the law for you to make a piece of gaming equipment in another state and send it here. So that's how the industrial area, like south of Sahara and west of the freeway, industrial and all that, that's kind of how that all got started down in there. It was because they manufactured all of the gaming equipment and all the stuff for inside the hotels and everything. So
interesting.
I went down and I found a guy that did sand casting, and he worked with us on it, and they did a really beautiful job. I wish I still had the molds for him. And then I found another guy on industrial that did metal stamping, and he made the silicon bronze tabs for us. And we went and bought an air-powered rivet guns and got labels made and bags and set this all up in Dave's garage.
Yeah.
And then we just started packaging them up.
And what was the first quantity that was
Well, we only made one run.
One run of how many?
It was a couple of thousand of them.
A couple thousand pieces?
Yeah.
And then where was the first, what was your, where did you guys decide to market it?
Well, we did the Hot VW's ad.
So you did the Hot VW's ad.
And then we would hit Volkswagen shows.
And how did the Hot VW's ad go at the time?
It went pretty good,
Yeah.
from what I remember. I mean, we didn't sell 100% of them. We sold, God, we sold a lot of them. The whole 1795.
Yeah.
And But then they came out with the plastic oil can and the snout.
They came out with the plastic oil bottle with the snout.
With the snout.
Which just, so it's like the worst timing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I probably had a couple of hundred of them left.
Right.
I don't know what Dave had, but so they just sat around for. I remember giving a box of them to Warren at the Beetle Barn, saying, "Here, sell these, do something with them."
Yeah.
And then Brian, Dave's cousin that I knew, he had a friend that lived up in Utah, and I said, "Brian, here, take a box of these up," because his buddy used to do body and paint work, and he was really good at it. But he bought a safe company. And he had all his own plating equipment and polishing equipment. So he said, give me a bunch of them and I'll polish and plate them and I'll give you half of them back. I'll keep the other half. And I said, sure, take a box. Never. And then my life went on, into other things that I just didn't even think about them anymore.
And so what's interesting is it's and for people from Vegas, it's kind of a niche collectible because it's stamped Las Vegas, Nevada on it.
Yeah.
And it's got the ATI logo inside the state of Nevada, I think.
State of Nevada. Yeah.
And I always found it pretty cool. And what's interesting is when I started the podcast, I was going through one of the old magazines. I thought, man, I should track down the guy that made these and see if he's still around so we could chat and get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
And so all these years go by, and just for reference, everybody knows, 1984 is when Pennzoil came out with the first plastic oil can or the plastic oil bottle that had the snout on it, right? Yeah. So it was easier to fill into your car. So you had a good run, a couple of years.
Good run, yeah, yeah.
And then,
but neither of us really did that for a living. We were just.
Did you guys ever wholesale them to Auto Haas or any of those guys like that?
Not really.
You never tried. Just went direct sales to the customer.
I was 19 years old.
So what did
I know?
Do you remember what it cost? What it cost per? You sold it for $17.95. What did it cost to make them back then?
I don't even remember.
Because you guys had a bunch of labor in them, right? You had two pieces, and you had to
2 pieces, and it wasn't that much. It was pretty easy, I bought original Bunacore gaskets from Volkswagen, like a couple of thousand of them. I was looking in there the other day, and I still have a 40-year-old brand new tube of oil filler cap gaskets.
Oh wow!
From Volkswagen, and they came in a tube that was like 1.5 feet long.
Really?
Wrapped in plastic.
That's too funny. That's good stuff. And so then so for a long time people were saying, well, let's get from your side. So you go on to your life. You transition into, you're well known for building ponds and specializing in koi ponds and all that kind of stuff. And you're kind of a pretty solid guy in the pond industry, right? Now you go on to do that. And then when's the next time
I heard about these?
The filler neck pops up on your radar?
Years ago, before I got out of automotive, this was been late 90s, I was working at Oldsmobile as a service advisor, and for a short time.
Courtesy Olds, or
it was they were on Sahara. I don't remember West Sahara up there, and I don't remember.
They had Pat Clark Buick, but I don't know if Pat Clark owned the Oldsmobile too.
Gosh,
that's all right.
It's a lot.
That's all right.
So there was a used car mechanic named Bill Hassel. Mm-hmm. It got to be a great friend of mine. So for the past all these decades, he and I kept in touch. He moved back to Mississippi, and then he was into bugs a little bit, and he and his brother had a couple of dune buggies. So I said, "Here, take a couple of oil filter extensions." I think I gave him like 4 of them.
Yeah,
a couple for his brother, a couple for him. So about 2 years ago, I'd been talking with him off and on during the week because we talked a lot. He was a great guy, and he actually just recently died.
Oh,
but
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, me too. But he called me, cracking up, and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And he said, "Well, I was just driving up the highway on my way to this new place in northern Louisiana," and he said, "I ran across a guy I knew, and he pulled me over, and he has like a little VW accessory shop and sells all kinds of other knickknacks too." And he pulled me over and said, "Hey, do you know how to get any more of those oil filler extensions?" And Bill asked him, he said, "Well, why? Why do you need one? I thought you had one." And he goes, "Yeah, but it disappeared." And he said, "I need another one." And he said, "I don't want to pay $350 for it."
Yeah.
And Bill said, "Yeah, I just got off the phone with the guy that created them."
How funny is that?
And that's the first time I had heard about him or anything about it for, God, I don't know, 30 years.
Really?
Something. Yeah.
And then the story was that the guy who designed them died, and
Right.
all this stuff. And
Yeah.
so, what?
That was pretty interesting because I couldn't figure out. I kept seeing that on different little blogs and things where people say, yeah, the original guy died, original manufacturer died. And what I finally figured out from piecing things together, talking to different people, is that box that I gave to Ralph up in Utah.
Yeah.
He died.
Oh, really?
Well, nobody knew. They were in his shop there. So somebody told me what the guy's name was, but he took it to a California
Just like a swap
VW
meet.
swap meet thing and was selling them there. And the story was that, got out that the owner or the creator died, and this was all that was left. So he was selling them, and then he was putting some, and they got on Samba and started getting around, and then so I heard about that, and then I actually got on and sold a couple.
Oh, did you?
For
You had
$300, yeah.
Had them sitting in the garage.
My wife's going, how many of these do you have? And I said, I don't know, 9 or 10.
Wow.
But I'm building a new shop for myself, and I was out there digging up all my Volkswagen stuff, and it was over at the side, and I found a few more.
Nice. They couldn't get rid of them at one time. They were going to be the bane of your existence.
God, if I'd only known.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, it's been a pretty interesting because then she decided she was going to put one on eBay.
Right.
Put one up, right?
My
wife did. I'm sorry. My wife, Janan. Yeah. So she posts one up, and then she gets this post from a guy, feedback, this kind of a little panicky post. And because she put in there are a few left on sale from the original designer.
Right.
So this guy called, or really didn't call because you can't exchange a phone number on eBay, right? So it took a little while to get a phone number back and forth, but he was deathly afraid that I was alive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
This was Chad Yarborough.
Uh-huh.
And he's down in Florida. And he said, yeah. He says, man, I don't know if you know, but I started remanufacturing these. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, that's great. And he goes, really? You're sure you're not going to sue me or anything? And I said, well, think about the timeline.
Right.
It's been 40 years.
Yeah.
I don't think if I had a patent. And the patent on that is a funny story, too.
Yeah, what? Because I noticed it does say patent
pending. Yes,
right?
Because Dave and I spent the money and applied for a patent search. And after a few weeks, the patent search came back. No.
They wouldn't let you patent it?
No, because it had already been patented in the 1920s.
Oh, did it really? An oil filler adapter had been patented in the 1920s.
Because on some old Model A or Model T or something, they had the same problem. And there was an angled cap, and it spilled oil all over, so somebody made one. It was kind of tin. I saw the stuff on the patent about it. So because somebody had done it 60 years earlier...
That's too funny.
Give us a patent on it. So anyway, I talked with Chad, and I said, no, it's great. Make them, sell them. I don't care. And he goes, well, I got to pay you something. So he sends me a stipend,
Nice.
when he said, man, but we have a really fun agreement because but he felt so bad. So I was walking around saying the Mark Twain saying the rumors of my death have been highly exaggerated.
Right. No, that's kind of wild though. I mean, like to think, because I've had a lot of people on the podcast that, I had a guy on the podcast that was drag racing back in the MP days and stuff like that. And he was kind of like, had no clue that anyone would ever, like there would ever be any concern about him making that and this kind of stuff. And I just think to myself, there's so many people that I've interviewed, whether it's the guy that chopped the first Volkswagen. He was 81 years old, and I interviewed him, and he was just like, who's this guy calling me about a car I built in 1955? You know what I mean? But it was interesting because, in this hobby, and I don't know very many other hobbies, especially in the automotive world that are, in the Chevy world, it's all monster corporate manufacturers that make everything, and in the VW world and because Volkswagen was so protective of their product, they'd never supported anybody for anything aftermarket. They never really put any of that kind of stuff in there, and the VW world just seems to be this entire niche of the hobby that everything was kind of
Yeah.
self-made. All the people that got into the industry building engines are all self-taught. I mean, there's lots of there's more people that are self-taught in this industry than there are people that have been formally trained. You know,
and if you think about it, look at off-road racing. It exploded because of Volkswagen.
Well, yeah, you know,
and Volkswagen never. I don't think they ever put a penny.
No, they did.
Never.
They did. So I do a podcast with Greg Aronson from Fat Performance. He's the A.
Oh, yeah.
He's the A in Fat, right? And he talks about the Type 4 motor that they were doing. He says, and for a short while, after they were doing the 1600 air-cooled, they went with the Rabbit 1600 motor.
Yeah.
They would run that in off-road cars. Volkswagen, they kind of supported. They really tried to push to get Volkswagen to start supporting a little bit, but Volkswagen was never in, and they ditched that whole thing when Toyota was like, "Hey, take our, the R22 motor or whatever, and just run that." And then they just you got involved with Toyotas and stuff because Toyota wanted to support the off-road hobby. But it's interesting when I look at a hobby and think, I don't know very many other hobbies that people are intuitive enough that they'll go out. I've remanufactured a few things myself. There's a Type 4 fan shroud that I had redone. I made the mold for it, and then I also had the base plates for the Porsche alternator sandcast.
Okay.
I found a sandcasting place here in Vegas. Yeah. A friend of mine worked there, and I said, "Oh, you guys sandcast here? Do you think that guy would sandcast some pieces?" And he's like, "Yeah, $50 a piece." And so I'm sure he did them on the side, and it was about as crude as the original piece that I had that was from Australia. And so I have like 6 sets of these fan shrouds that I haven't really sold any of them yet to do some things. But it's one of these hobbies where it's like you get into it and you want to create something or recreate something that's been manufactured before. And it's really, I find it particularly unique to the VW hobby of all these people. So are you surprised that here it is in 2026 and you're on a podcast talking about something that you guys made when you were 19 years old that has a little bit of a lore to it, and people are, kind of, going after these things.
I had a guy call me a while back. He was at a show, had one on a shelf behind him on a stand, and somebody stole it.
Yeah.
And it's like they sell their Volkswagen and they take that off of it.
Right.
Put the cap down, put it on their next Volkswagen.
And it was pretty, it was pretty slick how it was designed because it had that quarter twist.
Right.
The same as a Volkswagen. So you designed the lower portion exactly like a oil cap, the oil cap, where it did a quarter twist and it locked in place. And then you took the same cap and just put it back on top, but it just changed the angle.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool, and it was super handy, especially if you're trying to use an oil can with the oil can with the snout on it.
As long as your breather assembly was in the right position and firmly tightened down, that's all it needed. Because a lot of them would get loose and all that. But it was fun.
Now, did you guys during that time when you made this, was there any other things that you guys thought you might develop or design but you never did for Volkswagen specifically, where you thought, oh, well, we made this, we should make one of these too, or one of that?
Not Dave and I together so much, because he worked for the phone company,
right?
And we just did autocross and things with his little street race bug. But myself, there were a lot of things.
What kind of stuff?
Well, when I had, in 1980, I was working over at had my own little race thing over at Russell Jobs, and ran across a friend, a guy that I knew, Gary Alou, and then we bumped into Tom Bradley of Bradley Window, and he also had a class too.
Right.
And he came over and basically said, why don't you guys, I think Gary might have known him first, but why don't you guys just open a legitimate shop?
Right.
Well, we're kids. We have no money. We're broke. We just want to do stuff.
Right.
So he helped us open Racing Systems Research, RSR, in 1980. Really? That was at, I think it was 3230 Polaris, over in those warehouses, which back then, not like now. Everybody used to use all those warehouses for everything, but storing stuff, There were whole businesses in there. So we had RSR from, 83,
Racing
84.
Systems,
Racing Systems Research.
Research.
Yeah.
And what did you guys do there? Mostly off-road prep cars?
Well, Well, in between. Well, remember, that was 1980, the recession. You know, the world crashed. Everybody's waiting for Laughlin to open up.
Right.
You know, so they could start making money because Vegas was dead. So we worked on VWs, Porsches, Audis, Mercedes. You know,
Just anything, huh?
Just all kinds of.
And
just
did Tom
cars.
Bradley help you guys get started?
Yeah, he helped get us into that shop, and it was part of his. Yeah. But he never took any money out of it. We just took care of his race car.
Did he own the complex, or he just?
No, he owned Bradley Window.
Right.
And
because I think his son Dan Bradley took over. I'm not sure.
Danny Bradley's his brother.
Oh, his brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Danny was a nice guy. I always liked Danny. And Tom was an interesting character.
Yeah.
But we lied to him a lot.
Yeah.
About his car.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to do stuff.
Yeah.
You know, Gary and I wanted to do stuff. And I'll tell you something about race car owners and drivers is they want to race with what worked best the last time.
Right.
They don't want to hear about your ideas.
They don't want to change anything.
They don't want to know. No.
It ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, so we were changing. In fact, the first engine he had in it when we met him was a Fat Performance engine.
Oh, really?
It was an 84 by 92, I think. Is that 2276?
Yeah, 80.
Yeah.
Well, 82 by 94 is 2276.
Or no, it would have been. Well, it didn't have 94s in it. It would have been 92s.
So not 82 by 92 is 2180.
Or no, 84 by 92.
Oh, 84 by 92.
84 by 92, yeah. And so we ran the crap out of that, but we were always changing things on it. And
so what kind of stories would you tell them that so you guys could work on the car, do some mods?
well, you know, after a while, that engine was pretty much worn. So we decided we were going to do something different. But the first couple of times, we would we would raise the compression on it, and we ended up making it a 2400cc engine.
Without him knowing?
Well, he kind of knew, but it was German Auto down in, I think they were in Phoenix, started making the 94 millimeter barrels.
Yeah.
And wow, they were cast iron cylinder with machined aluminum cylinders or fins. And man, they look beautiful. So we decided we were going to convince him that we were going to do it. And then we went to an 86 millimeter crank. And so he didn't really know, but he won some races with that engine. And then I was a good friend, or well, not a friend, Bob Walters of Dial-In Cams. I don't know if you ever knew who he was.
I don't.
He was a wizard, just a camshaft wizard. He was up in Oakland area, I think, somewhere around there. And man, that guy, one day I called him and I said, Bob, I know you're thinking about something. There's something in your brain that you want to try in a Volkswagen. And I said, I got this 2400cc engine and I want to do something. And, and this was after I already got the Webers dialed in, but that was,
what Webers were they running on those cars?
Well, what they were running is Fat was running a dual 48 IDFs in the circle track because they had just started close course racing.
Yeah.
But they would go to a single. Well, they would go back to the single Zenith in the desert racing.
Yeah.
So because nobody could get a Weber IDF to run in the desert, run in the rough. It just bobbled and shook and coughed and spit. And everybody was running Zeniths, so they had those figured out. So I was the first person to make Weber carburetors run in the desert.
And what was the trick to making them work back then?
Well, the trick would have actually been to not start out with a 48.
Right, go with a 44.
In the center. Well, yeah, but it was
a
really
single
nothing.
48
single
IDA?
48 IDF.
IDF.
IDF in the center.
Okay.
Because it was... The problem was velocity, and it took me a while to figure out. Mm-hmm. And they got a good story about what actually taught me about Webers, if you want to do that. I don't know if you want to do that today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we were at Phoenix International Raceway with the twin Webers. God, this was back in about 1981, maybe. Mm-hmm. and they were getting ready to run the closed course track. And everybody was out there with their dual Webers and everything, and all these guys running around. Now I look back at them as, man, everybody's just a bunch of idiots.
Right.
But I was one of them. And they're all saying, what are you running for emulsion tubes? What are you doing this and that? And they're all saying, oh, I'm running F11s or I'm running F7s. And I'm thinking, you guys
are way off.
Well, but I didn't know why then. I was getting there. Right. But I just knew that it doesn't matter what's in your car. It's not going to work on my car.
Right. Everybody's car is different.
Because there's so many things that determine the pattern of the pulse. Because a Weber carburetor doesn't have a brain. No. It's a vacuum generating machine, and it generates vacuum by the pulse. And that pulse is determined mostly by the camshaft. But then there's intake length, exhaust length, engine size.
Yeah, all that has something to do with
valve.
it.
Yeah. So I was walking along there, and this is the weirdest story, but I'm out in the middle of this pit area messing with the car. Mm-hmm. And I look up, and this guy.
And now you said you guys were doing them on a circle.
Well, that was
closed course.
Well, yeah, because they had closed course racing at Riverside International Raceway and at Phoenix International Raceway.
Okay.
And then they started, and it was a blast. They were off-road cars that guys had run the compression up and run dual carbs, and they were wild. And but this guy, I looked up, and there's this guy. I consider him a walk-in. Somebody like Bigfoot.
Right.
Like somebody who doesn't really exist, but he came in and out of your life for 10 minutes.
Right.
This guy had long hair, tore up jeans. He looked like if Jesus was a hippie.
Right.
That's my best description of him. And he came walking up to me, and we started a conversation, and I'm telling him what I was trying to do. And we had a 10-minute conversation. I do not know who this guy was.
Yeah.
I had never seen him again in my life. I looked for him everywhere for years at different racetracks. Never. But in 10 minutes, he told me more about how a Weber carburetor functions, or how to make it function, in little details about the emulsion tubes and venturis that I'd never read in books. And that changed my life with Webers. Yeah, so it was because I was listening to the
podcast from last week.
Yeah, with
Rick Hunt.
Rick Hunt, yeah. And even he said he was self-taught. Yeah. He has all the books, but they don't.
Right.
They don't teach him anything. He did it himself. He figured it out. He learned organically how all the things that work for his world goes. Because you cannot buy a book today that will tell you how to make a Weber carburetor work on your car.
Right.
They'll tell you how they work in theory.
Right.
And what things might have worked on other people's cars. But your car, no.
So when he gave you the information and you went back, made some modifications to the carburetor, what was the difference?
Well, I was trying to understand what was happening, because what would have got is it would be hauling ass, and then it hit some rough, and it would bobble and choke and cough.
It start to bog down.
That was one of the problems. So I figured out it was a velocity problem, because the air was not moving fast enough through the carburetor. Now, mind you, this was a 2400cc engine. So I'm...
A 2400cc engine with a single 48 IDF
48 IDF on it. Yeah, and those Venturis there, I don't remember how big they were at the factory. They were huge. But, so I went over to my lathe, and I took a billet of aluminum, and I started machining smaller Venturis.
Oh, really? And
Tom was very patient, because we would go to races and stuff and do things, and it wasn't right. But he, and I would go to races, and people would come up and literally almost, it would be like kicking dirt in somebody's face, but not actually, but they go, Wallace, you're never going to make one of those things run. That's just stupid. You're a fool.
Right. Everybody's tried that. You're an idiot.
Right,
yeah.
Yeah. But finally I machined up a set of 34 millimeter Venturis for it. I took the auxiliary Venturis out, and I machined the tops of them down, and I extended them like the 48 IDA auxiliary Venturis. So they came, because I was running a 5.5 inch tall Mikuni velocity stack on them. They were pretty too. I still have some of those. And I it was the prettiest carburetor with the chrome velocity stacks and the brass auxiliary Venturi coming up, and the 34s fixed the the bottom to mid range bobble problem.
Right.
That thing was crisp and sharp. And then I had been messing around with emulsion tubes. You know, I had a dozen different emulsion tubes. The people at Redline that back then, there was a young girl that worked for Redline, and I don't remember her name, but she was phenomenal. And I'd call her up and ask her questions, and she didn't know either. But she'd go do all the research and get back to me. So I had quite a collection of emulsion tubes and things, and I think I ended up with using like an F2 is what I finally got down to, because an F2 is a narrower diameter than an F11, so there's more fuel volume in the emulsion tube well, and it helped a little bit of the top end lean out.
To make it a little more responsible on top end.
Yeah, but then there was still massive top end lean out. I mean, that thing, you hit 7,000 RPM on a 2400cc motor going across the dry lake bed, and you're going.
Yeah.
And it's pulling a lot of fuel. And so the way we would test it is funny, because back then we didn't have the exhaust sensors.
Right.
You know, we didn't have any of the toys we had now. So I would take it out to the dry lake bed at the south end of town, and I'd run it through all its paces. You know, I'd go a mile bottom end, a mile mid range, a mile top end, and I'd pull a plug at the end of every run. I'd stop it dead and jump out and
read the
pull
plugs.
a plug out and read the plugs.
Yeah.
So that's how we did it. But the way I finally, and I took the needle and seat out, and I made a bigger needle and seat because I couldn't buy anything more than a 300, or I don't even know if they make a 300 for an IDF, but I made my own needle and seat, and that helped a little bit. So I knew I had to have more fuel top end. And I remember the 40 IDFs.
Yeah.
A lot of them have a fuel enrichment circuit on them, that little curved brass tube that comes up over the top next to the auxiliary venturi. And I looked, and all of the top castings for all the 44s and the 48s had the little casting mark for the high-speed enrichment circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought, well, I'm going to try that. So I bored the top of the carburetors. I made a jig for my lathe so I could put it on there and machine it out to the velocity stack size I want. And I put a tube that went down in the bottom of the float bowl, and I put a Weber jet in the bottom of that thing, a little Weber out of a not a DCN.
DCOE side drive?
No, those jets are too big. But anyway, I put a jet in the bottom, and I very carefully handmade the curved brass little tubes that came up over in each top. And those things work, because I remember looking at the Solexes, all the little Solex 30s and 34s, and they all have high-speed enrichment circuits in them. That's that little brass tube that sticks across the top right out of the air cleaner. So on the Class 9s, I had been drilling those out and doing different things, and taking the emulsion tubes out of the Solexes and cleaning them and soldering up and changing the hole pattern in the emulsion tubes to help more fuel on the top end. So I knew it could kind of work, but it still didn't work quite enough. There was still too much top end lean out. And the last thing I wanted to do was burn up a big motor. Yeah, a big motor. So what I ended up doing is dry sumping them. Because I read about aircraft carburetors being dry sumped. And
you dry sump the carburetor?
Yeah. Yeah. And that worked fantastic. Because all the float level in a carburetor does is it establishes the level of fuel in the emulsion tube well. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the more fuel you use, the float slowly starts to drop, allowing the needle and seat to open more.
To let more fuel in.
But at some point, you get more than the needle and seat can actually flow. And then that's when it's a problem. So I had been reading about dry sumping on aircraft carburetors, and I pulled the Weber apart, and I made a little aluminum divider plate inside the float bowl. So the float bowl was two halves. One half, the bigger half, was toward the emulsion tube wells, and the smaller half was toward the float. And then toward the needle and seat. So I took the needle and seat out and put a tube that went straight down into the base of that. Mm-hmm. And then the top of that little dam that I put in there, I JB welded it in place. And it was the height of fuel when the engine was running low speed.
So
that was the float level height. The original float, like we can say, set the float level at whatever. Right. That's the level you're trying to achieve. Because if you go more than that, it's going to flood.
Right.
If you go less than that, then you're not starting out with enough fuel volume. So And then on the other side, I packed it full of fuel cell material so it couldn't slosh.
Right.
So it took 3 pumps on a set of duals and 2 pumps on a single. But so you have one fuel pump that is filling it.
So it's electric fuel pump.
Yeah, electric fuel pumps. I'm sorry. Yeah, one fuel pump that's filling the small side under the needle and seat area.
So what do you do now with the needle and seat? Just
throw it away. It's open because I put a tube in there that went down to the bottom.
So the tube goes through the needle and seat hole.
Yeah, goes through the needle and seat hole, goes down to the bottom and fills that side. The fuel comes up over the little dam I put in there and fills up the other side. Well, or no, I got that wrong. It's filling up the fuel side closest to the needle and or closest to the emulsion tube well. That side's being filled up. I'm sorry. And then as it gets up to the top of the dam, it overflows into the backside.
Right.
The backside has a fitting in the bottom that goes to another fuel pump that's pulling fuel out.
So it won't blow past the...
Right. So you have one fuel pump that's constantly filling the carburetors and the other that's just eliminating all of the overflow. So it's effectively dry sumped. It is what I would call it. That's what they called it. It's
so there's no more float or needle and seat in the car.
No more float or needle and seat. And that fuel level stayed at the fullest possible position all the time. Even if you're doing 7,000 RPM.
So you couldn't run it out of fuel.
So you can't run it out of fuel. And that fixed it.
Really?
That fixed it. And then I rejetted things from there because it changed the
What did
jetting.
everybody say when you made that 48 work?
Oh, only one person came up to me and said anything. Bert Vaughn of Echo Electric.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came up and shook my hand and congratulated. Everybody else is like, oh, screw that guy.
Did it make what kind of difference did it make racing?
Oh, geez. It was awesome. Yeah. That thing was so crisp and smooth. You could do anything you wanted with it. Just literally anything. Yeah, that engine.
How many carbs did you fab like that?
Not very many.
Just a handful
Just
of them?
a handful of them, yeah. But that class 2, we were at the time to get a 34-inch tall tire. Back then, you would go down to and have them retreaded, right? They'd put a thick retread from semi. You go down to where they do the semi tires.
Yeah.
And that's what all the off-road guys were running. They'd take their sandblaster tires down that didn't have squat for tread, and they'd have them stripped. And the guys down at the tire place would put a semi-truck retread on them. They were heavy tires.
Oh, yeah.
But they had massive tread, and they were 34-inch tall tires instead of 32. That car would chirp third gear on asphalt.
Really?
Yeah. They'd chirp the tires in third gear on asphalt.
Jeez, I wonder where that car's at today.
Oh, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? It was yellow.
That was Tom Bradley's class 2 car.
Yeah.
So it was a class 2, like class 2 limited chassis, unlimited motor. Is that what class 2 was?
Class 2, yeah. Yeah, it's unlimited. 2-seat. It's 2-seat unlimited.
Yeah. I remember Jim Barbeau had one with a big Type 4 in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when the Type 4s first came out, European Auto did the first one.
Yeah.
And Kenny, the Crumey brothers did Crumey Concrete. That was another car we did at the shop. And we were at Barstow, the Barstow 250. And these guys from European Auto came up to me and they said, you know what? Our new Type 4 thing, I'm going to blow the doors off yours. Because we happen to pull your starting positions 2 at a time. Mm-hmm. So off the starting gate every 10 or 15 seconds.
It's like 2 cars.
2 cars would take off. And back then in Barstow, it's where the starting point was where the village is now, all that shopping village and all that food court and everything is now. But you would go to there and they went right to the top of a hill and went over and then off into the desert. But they were trying to bet me, and I'm a broke kid.
Right.
You know, I'm just nothing. So I said no. But they were telling me they were going to blow my doors off the start.
And this was against their car.
Against their car, because they pulled
2 class 2s running heads up.
Running
one with a Type 4
and one with our 2400
what
cc.
What size was this Type 4?
I don't remember.
Was he running singles or duals?
I don't. Probably duals.
Yeah.
No, it was a desert car, so it was probably singles back then. The bottom line is we blew the doors off that car.
Oh, really?
And then Crumey found out, because he was a player.
Yeah.
He found out that they bet me, and he was pissed.
Oh, really?
He said, if anybody ever does that to you, you come get me.
Oh,
I'm going to put up the money. Don't you ever let that happen to you again. Yeah, he was annoyed.
Now, Crew Me, that was a local contractor
Yeah,
here?
Crew Me
'Cause
Concrete.
That was the thing. All the local contractor guys,
Or was it Crew Me Pool? God, maybe
they
it
were
was
all the guys that had
Creamy Pool.
off-road. I mean, you're looking at Dan
Oh, yeah.
Bradley Glass. You're looking at
Russell Jobe.
yeah, all like drywall companies. Like everybody's
Right.
got all these contractors end up getting
Yeah.
race teams. You
Yeah,
know?
it was funny back then because the world had just crashed. The economy was horrible, and everybody's waiting for Lofton to come up, and their car would sit in your shop for like a month and a half. So we'd be working on everything else because they didn't have a bunch of money either.
Right. They didn't have discretionary cash.
And they would come in 2 weeks before the race and throw a giant wad of money down and go, I need my car ready. We got a pre-run in a week. And you're like,
and then you're up all
You're
night
up.
getting this car
oh,
ready.
yeah. I remember one time for Russell Jobe, I stayed up for 2 days straight
Really?
and woke up on the way to Mexico. And on Tom's car, and Tom and 1 year for the Mid 400 here, I stayed awake for 3 days. Stayed awake for 3 days straight. I lost 13 pounds in 3 days.
That
And
sounds terrible.
I was a skin and bones anyway back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Because it was crazy.
And so what year did you stop off-road racing or
Well,
being involved
that was
off-road
80
racing?
through 84.
83, 84.
84. We closed down the shop and because the economy still wasn't that great yet. It was kind of starting, and I went to work for dealerships because I needed to earn a living. I just got married and was trying to have kids and couldn't do that playing with race cars. But I still did some race car stuff at my house and had my fabrication equipment and stuff and the lathe and mill. Tom Ellingham and I have Ellingham Charleston Paint and Body.
Uh-huh.
They're not there anymore. It's something else now. It was next to the old Wholesome Bread place.
Uh-huh.
But he and I bought a lathe and a mill together, and they were down in his shop. So when I needed stuff, I could go down and make stuff. So I was, playing real life service advisor, service manager stuff.
You get out of it. You get out of it for a while, but then go just kind of mess with it from a hobby standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah.
And any Volkswagens still in your life?
Yeah, I have a thing. I've had a thing for over 20 years. It doesn't run.
And you bought
it ran
the thing?
when I got it, barely. Yeah. And it's been covered and sitting over the side, and people drive by all the time and try to buy it from me.
Yeah, they see it in your yard.
But they're not going to buy it. I've got tons of stuff for it that I've never put on it. I got all kinds of things.
Well, you got till October. October one crazy weekend. We're doing that at the Orleans this year, and it's going to be a great time. And this year,
and here's the thing: is I've got all the transmission stuff for it, and I've got all the engine stuff, and I had it in my mind I was going to turbo it, so I have a little turbo, and then I bought a turbo webcam and all the stuff back then. It's all still in a box, brand new. But at the same time, I still have one of Bob Walter's 36 cams. Mm-hmm. The most awesome cam.
The 3036 Weber,
30,
for the Weber.
And I've got pairs of Webers, and I'm thinking I'm just going to do the thing naturally aspirated and
make it nice and
just
reliable.
Not do the turbo.
Well, the turbo technology's come along. It's come a long way nowadays. There's so much stuff these guys are doing that.
I know.
I mean, most of the drag and drive Volkswagens, they have the drag and drive Volkswagens that are running. There's a couple of guys out there that are running 9s on a Volkswagen that they'll run 9s and then drive it 600 miles.
Yeah.
So
we used to on Braxton, when we were doing that 24cc engine, we would rebuild it every 3 races or so, and the case would be cracked every time.
Yeah, so
it'd start out. So what we ended up doing is as a Porsche mechanic, I realized Porsche always through bolted all their cases.
Right.
So I would get Type 2 or Type 4 through bolts and use Porsche 911 sealing washers. And I would drill. You can drill all the way through a Volkswagen case in 5 places. You can't drill down below the one in the front by the oil pump. So I was through bolting the cases, and that worked awesome.
Interesting.
That worked awesome. But the thing is, you drill through oil galleys and stuff. So you have to over drill a little bit. And then I would put all the sealing stuff together. And then on the inside, I would make sure that because now we're flowing oil around all those
Right,
studs because there's a
right.
couple of oil galleys you punch through on the non-stud side.
Yeah.
And then I remember the Porsche piston oilers in the 911 engines. It's
Yeah,
a
the
part number
squares.
with no. It's a little round jet that only opens after about 30 pounds of pressure, and they oil the backs of the 911 pistons.
Yeah.
And the part number is all ones and zeros. And I ordered a bunch of those. The first one I made out of Weber carburetor jets. But what I started doing is drilling through the main oil galleys, and I put a jet down in the back of the case to squirt on the back of the pistons. And then once I realized that was going to work pretty good, I just started ordering the Porsche 911 ones. So when we rebuilt an engine, we would through-bolt the whole thing. We'd have it shuffle pinned. We'd have it all machined out for all the big crank. And then I would drill it for the Porsche 911 oilers. And, man,
Yeah.
light that thing.
I mean, you know, a 2600cc motor, that was gigantic back
well,
then. Or
2400
2400cc is a
24.
gigantic
Yeah,
motor.
that was back then. It was only us and Germanato that were building them at the
And
time.
then run it at 7,000 RPM.
Oh, yeah.
On a single carburetor.
Yeah.
That's
it was
wild.
A Scat. I think it was a Scat 86 millimeter crank.
Yeah, that's wild.
It was fun.
No, that's, I mean, you know, there's, for a long time, I wanted to start the history of off-road racing in Las Vegas series of the podcast.
Yeah.
And I wanted to start it with Bob McCachran.
Yeah.
And I was hounding him just before he passed away, because he passed away a few
Yeah.
years ago. And I was hounding him. I said, we got to just sit down and get your story with the whole Butch's Speed Shop and all that stuff, how all that came
Yeah.
together. Because off-road racing started here before it started in Southern California.
Yeah.
You know, California, they had the beach, they had dune bugs, all that stuff. Here we just had desert.
You know,
know,
yeah, dirt.
And
Yeah.
but there was so much of that's come from here. I mean, like I've been hounding. What is his name? The chassis guy. Well, I can't think of his name. It's not Bruce Fraley, because I know Bruce Fraley, but it's the other.
God, my brain.
Yeah.
You know, when you hit 70.
Well, I'm not the Bunderson.
Bunderson,
So it's
yeah.
Kevin Bunderson.
And you know, everybody thinks we all hated each other. We're rivalries and all that. And there was some rivalry. We were all
Right.
kind of like, after I got the Weber going, Butch Dean called me
Yeah.
and said, "Hey, will you come over and make one run for me?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Sure." I said, "Yeah, a couple $100, no big deal."
Yeah.
He never called me back, and I never did it from him. But I wasn't going to tell him no.
Right.
And I knew once I did it, he'd go, "Oh,
That's it. Let me do it.
yeah, yeah." So, and Bunderson, when I moved my, when Ellingham's went out of business, and the mill was down there, and he was taking the lathe up to Montana with him, and he left the mill with me. I didn't have any place to put it. And I called Bunderson, and I said, "Hey, you know, you want free use of a mill for however long until I have a place for it?" And I think he had it for like 10 years.
Really?
You know, I didn't say
Yeah.
why. And then one day we went and got it back.
Well, I've been wanting to get him on the podcast.
He's great. Yeah. Kevin's an interesting guy.
Because he has done so much suspension development.
I know.
And so many people. And I only want to do it to give, and it's kind of selfish, right? I want to do it to give credit to the people in Vegas.
Well, I think
People
he
in Las
actually did the
Vegas.
first A-arm front suspension.
He did. He did
And
one of the first AR
that's
front
I don't know
suspensions.
if you want to go into that now, but that's an interesting conversation about how that came about.
The first AR suspension?
Yeah, when he did it, because he was having everybody was building the long trailing arms.
Right.
Well, that's a lot more torque against the torsion bars, so it caused a lot of brake dive. You hit the brakes, and your front end would mash into the ground, right? It was serious brake dive. So I was over talking to him one day, and we were out there, and he was talking about building an A-arm suspension maybe and doing this, but wasn't. You know, this is back before they figured out the giant ball joints and all that.
Right.
So I was sitting down and I showed him, well, you know, you can do it with bus front suspension parts with a bus king and link pin setup. If you turned it this way, and I was showing him he could build an A-arm and it would still work without ball joints. It could work with king and link pins if you, but he never did that. But it, you know, right after that, he created the first A-arm front suspension. I remember the car.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
You know,
yeah.
I just had I had a guy not long ago, Tony, who was with Bug Formants up in the Bay Area, and he actually has a Wampus Kitty. He relocated here, and the Wampus Kitty had kind of an A-arm front suspension.
One A-arm.
Yeah, a single lower A-arm. And it was really it was almost like kind of a hatchet design, the way it kind of went up and down. But it's interesting. Talking to him, I ran into him at Cars and Coffee this weekend, and he's relocated here from Northern California. And he brought the guy that actually was partners with him in the store. And so I'll be getting him on the podcast because, all of these things had an effect later on down the road in some other aspect of automotive racing to some extent or another, And so I just think it's so interesting to see all this stuff that takes place. And especially, here in Las Vegas, so much of the off-road racing and development happened here, and a lot of off-road stuff ended up translating into drag racing stuff too, because if it can handle 7,000 RPM going across some whoops,
being beat up,
can definitely handle some stuff on the drag strip.
Because Kevin, I think, started one of the guys that started the shock absorber thing. He was making his own shocks.
Well, he was doing like cheater bypass shocks, like where they would make the upper housing larger to hold more dampening fluid.
And then they started doing the auxiliary damper.
And so my reason for doing it is I want to get the history corrected. Because I've seen some people go online and say, I was the first one to ever do bypass shocks. And I only know this just from knowing some off-road people that I know that say, nah, Bunderson was doing that way back in the day.
Yeah.
He spent some time working with Nissan on some of their racing stuff and things like that, and on some of these high-end things, and then he'd bring them back over and off-road racing, some of the stuff he'd learn over there. But I just find it super interesting. Yeah. With all of the if you could really look at it and look at all the development that's gone into Volkswagen aftermarket stuff, people taking super antiquated technology, these air-cooled engines that they stopped, the last development was in the early 70s, and continue to try to race it and develop it and do all that stuff. And in Vegas, of course, because it's hot and you don't want a radiator, so it's just all the air-cooled stuff. Yeah. So it's just interesting how the whole thing's come together, So
and nowadays with 3D printers and all kinds of plastics.
Oh man. I mean, you could have made your thing in 6 hours. You could have custom made out of plastic.
Chad mentioned to me that there was somebody that made a 3D print program for my oil filler extension.
Oh, really?
But I'm thinking, what are you going to print it out of? You're going to have a printer that prints metal or some super high temp plastic.
Right.
It's not going to be, your average off the shelf print material.
Yeah, it'll probably get pretty soft.
So yeah.
Man, listen, I'm glad we got to have you on here. I'm glad everything kind of worked out the way that it did. Yeah. And so we got to have you on here, and
I'm working my way toward Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah. Oh, are you? What do you got going on Antiques Roadshow?
My oil filler extension. I got maybe another 10 years.
Another 10 years. And they'll be like, put one. Some English guy be like, this is a particular antique from the 1980s in off-road racing. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's. It's kind of cool that you could make something, develop it when you're a young teenage kid and you're passionate about a hobby, and you just make, this decision that you and your buddy are going to take out some money, make this thing. Yeah. It sells really good for a couple years, and then the world changes, and now it's kind of this thing that sits on a shelf. But it
was crazy because neither of us could really afford to do it. We didn't know anything about marketing. And that's one thing I've learned. I mean, I've got like 80 molds of my own now, and I make all kinds of parts for the car pond industry.
Because now you're in the pond industry, and you make custom drains.
I make drains and fittings and skimmers and UV light assemblies.
And you're doing it all. You're doing it all without injection molding, all the stuff, like actually manually making a lot of the stuff.
It's the markets. It's not like the pool industry. It's small. So if I spend $10,000 on a mold, it's going to take me 5 years to get the money back. If I took all of my molds and had them made up for injection molding, my great grandchildren probably wouldn't pay it off. Yeah. So I hand mold them now, and it works out.
No, well, I mean, it's just again. It's back to the fact that I think that you're a VW guy, right? Like a VW guy starts with Mission Impossible. Right. Like here's this thing with 40 horsepower, and you need to get it up to 150 horsepower, and you need to make it last, and you need to do this, and you need to think out of the box, and you got to grab a part from here and something from over there, and I believe it's a training in unconventional thinking, but resourcefulness, right? Yeah. Like you have to be resourceful. You got to just chicken soup out of chicken poop. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
no, that's great, man. Well, Ken, I'm glad we get to have you on here because
Yeah,
I
it
just
was
think I think it's so cool that we're able to kind of put an end to the story that the guy with About Time Ink filters is not around anymore, because you're right here in front of me.
Yeah.
But it is kind of cool, and it's surprising that you to see it sell for so much money.
I was shocked.
I mean, like, yeah,
hadn't
wild, right?
Yeah, because I hadn't even thought about it until Bill called me that day.
Yeah. No, that's listen, that's good stuff, man. But I appreciate you for coming on. Anybody
Yeah,
wants
it
to
was
get in
fun.
touch with you for anything, how'd they get in touch with you? Are you on Facebook or Instagram or any of that stuff?
Yeah, I'm really bad at all that stuff because mostly I sell to my regular contractors.
Right.
So, but yeah, I have a website, livingwatersolutions.com.
Thelivingwatersolutions.com is your website. People can get in
Yeah.
touch with you through there.
Yeah, I don't
and that's
have
where
my
you sell your specialty.
Yeah, I don't have my store up anymore because when COVID hit and plastics prices were flying all over the place, I would have been every day in there
Right.
changing prices. So I
Sure.
figured I sell to all the same people all the time. So I just,
Right.
but I'm getting ready to start it back up with a.
And you're like one of the foremost experts in koi ponds and stuff like that.
I'm actually the single most prolific technical writer in the world
Oh, really?
by accident.
How's that?
Because I started writing for magazines several years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and because what I would do is I'm a fabricator, so I would see somebody's piece of equipment, and I'd go on these blogs and I'd say, "Hey, look, I know you have problems with that. Do this, fix that. Here's a part, or I can send you this, or whatever." So I fabricate a lot of my own parts, or did, and that's how I got into molding and making stuff. So I need to get to a point where I can get my store back up, because I've got a few things. My store used to have a ton of stuff on it, but now I've got a few things, and I'm working with somebody that's going to mold my bottom drain. Possibly that'll be good.
There you go.
Get that out of the way, and I could go on to making my other stuff. But
Well, that's great, man.
yeah,
Well, I thank you for coming out here and coming on
you
this,
bet.
and we get to kind of put an end to this. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you, and I'm
fun.
sure I'll see you around. Hopefully, I'll see you in October with your VW
yeah.
thing at
And
One
you should
Crazy
do the
Weekend.
history thing. Call Bunderson and call a guy named Bill Holbrook. You could call him.
I've been on the phone with Billy Holbrook recently.
Oh, really? Yeah, call
Billy
him
Bill Holbrook, and also Vic Torres. Those
Yeah,
guys.
I know Victor. I saw Victor like a year and a half ago. He
Oh.
called me up asking me about a Weber carburetor.
Yeah, all those guys from the early Vegas days
I
of
know.
engine building, drag racing, off road racing, all
Yeah.
that stuff. So,
Yeah.
well, cool. Well, we'll do it, man, and I appreciate you coming on.
Okay. That's
All right.
good.
Thanks.
You bet. Thank you.
Well, if you like that podcast, and I'm sure you did, make sure you share this podcast with all your friends that enjoy classic Volkswagen history of the people that made the hobby what it is today. News for One Crazy Weekend is coming up soon. Next week, I'll be releasing some stuff, letting you guys know what's happening. It might be the week after, just the very end of this month, but we'll get it all set up. You guys will be able to purchase your spaces for the weekend, and it's going to be a great time. Room reservations are crazy right now, and we're so many months away. So I need to make sure you guys get all your rooms booked. I'd love it if we sold out the hotel, but we definitely got lots more to do. If you haven't booked your room yet, make sure you book your room. It's going to be a great time this year at One Crazy Weekend. So October 1st to the 4th at the Orleans Hotel and Casino. Go to letstalkdubs.com for more information. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel and also George T's YouTube channel at The Wagon for some of the best how-to videos that are out on YouTube. So if you got to do some Volkswagen restoration repair work, some tune-ups, some modifications, go check out George's YouTube channel at The Wagon. And until next week, guys, later.
You probably don't know that there's a new Volkswagen out that doesn't look like a Volkswagen.